Hey guys, what's up? All right. It's Double Deuce back with another episode of Radio Out of Control. Today's episode is going to be on the Xtra Speed 2-speed tranny and that false motor that they got. And today, we're going to tear it apart and take a look inside for you guys, because these are pretty stout. So here we go. And we're back. So I ordered another one of these things. They were like 129 bucks. I had one I had put in my trail finder too. They did a couple of changes on the thing. I say they got Xtra Speed written on the valve cover now, where before they had just XS, which was kind of cool. Transmission looks virtually the same. Now this is a 2-speed tranny. And it comes with a front mount. And if you're going to put this in your trail finder too, you're going to have to oblong the back hole a little bit. And you're going to have to come up with a cross member for it. I had put it in a Honcho or XCX10 frame. And if you guys seen the other build that I had, which I'll show you right now. Okay, so you see what I did with that one. I went over in my last video. I had actually taken the center cross member and turned it around for this to fit in there. So here's what comes in the bag. Get rid of that. Okay, we got our shifter, and this thing has this unique little spring on this thing for you to set it up to your servo and let the spring do the pulling, so you don't really need a servo saver. You can just put an arm on there. That's what I did. And you know, if you want to put some kind of a rod on there, you can, but you're going to have to come up with some kind of a spring servo saver. Now, the other one I got was a little, I don't know, it was a little crude, I guess it was made, but this one here seems to be made a lot better. Like all the closings here, closing panels and stuff where it's bolted together is a lot tighter. The other one seemed like they were kind of warped and all that. It's still got the little header flanges if you want to make your own headers for it. So I wanted to take a look inside, because the other one I'm running a brushless 9-turn motor with it, and I beat the snot out of it, and I've not had any problems with it. And so we'll get to the bag. Here's your front cross member they give you in the bag. They give you a pinion and some screws, nuts, and whatnot there to put it together. There's absolutely no directions with this thing, so it's a do-it-yourself on your own thing. I had actually retrofitted this into my Bruiser and HDP 407 frame. It'll drop right in there. You just got to take out the steering, you know, the arm on the one side. But if you did your front servo mount mod on that, you won't have to worry about it, because that mount fits right inside the frame of the Bruiser. And I only use 2 bolts instead of the, you know, I use one on each side. And then I used the back here. I mounted one of these right here with a washer on it right to the bottom of the cross member in one of the center holes, and it lined right up. And it was sitting in there nice and tight, and it looked pretty good, and it kind of set downward. And I did not use these 2 spacers with my HDP 407 and bruiser setup. I didn't use them. On my SCX 10.2 frame I bought from Integi there, or in TG or whatever. I got in trouble for this, pronouncing things wrong. Like I say, I needed to put those spacers on there to get the motor to set level in the frame. But, so now we're going to tear it apart and we'll go from there. We need the right tools. My little trusty Harbor Freight bit set there. I've used these things. I'm gonna actually go buy another one because they're only like $2 or $3, and they're pretty good. I'll try to speed this up for you. Now, that cover. I imagine this thing has full bearings in it. And it does, because they're flying all over the place. So we got some bearings that kind of look like the HDP 407 ones. I don't see any lettering on them or anything like that, but has a little grease in it. And these are, if you look at the set, really nice housings. They're very nice. Look casted. They're not CNC machined. But these are basically like the HDP 407. It's got the pin through them, and the gear comes on and slides over. And they are greased, not heavily, but they are greased with a, looks like a red style marine grease. And they are steel gears. They're hardened steel gears in this thing. So now that's a good sign right there. So anyway, I'm going to start ripping it apart and lay it out for you guys, and we'll be right back. Okay, now we got this thing tore down a little bit here. I had to put my my little cloth down. Like I say, I always suggest that nobody tears things apart unless they got a towel underneath them, because of these little pins like this here that go bouncing around, and then guess what? You can't find them. So now this is a pretty complex little transmission for a 2-speed. From what I see so far, it is super high quality. Like I say, all the gears are hardened metal. They're like hardened steel gears because they're heat treated, because they're black. Right down from the very beginning over here through the tranny, you got your shift dogs here. I'm gonna try to get a close-up on these things without trying to show you guys kind of how these things work. Can you see the little fingers in there? And then this slides in and out, and there's a gear inside there that these fingers slide in. So there's 3 fingers that have an opportunity to go into 6 different places. So I've never really had any problem shifting one of these things. And they're really fine teeth, and they're hard. So I can see why they're putting up with the abuse of the brushless system I got on there, because they're, like I say, and it's fully greased inside, and it has full bearings through it. Now there's a couple of things on here I want to kind of stress for you guys. I'm going to get as close as I can. You see this little washer right here? This goes in between this, and there's an aluminum collar here, and I'm on this one back here, this one over here, the bell housing part. Let me move this. Right here, an aluminum collar, and this here. Well, when I had take my other one apart, when I put it back together, Apparently I didn't include this bearing and I lost it, and it was like, and it was just enough for this gear to keep moving back and forth. So this pin right here, trying to get a close-up of it, it would come off the edge of this pin and skip, because I thought I tore my other tranny up. But what it was my own fault for not paying attention and not having my towel down here to catch the things. So that's the Xtra speed 2-speed transmission and transfer case. It's pretty cool. I mean, like I say, it's very, very high quality. One of the things I thought was really neat, this thing kind of only goes on one direction, but it's splined, and it's got bolts to hold it to the housing too. So it's super strong. I mean, it'd be cool if you could move this thing so you could go from the right side of your motor to the left side, or vice versa, because it's got this piece casted in down here, so you really can't move it around. But that's a look inside the thing. I highly suggest these things because I've never had a problem with the other one I had, and I put that thing through some torture. I was running a brush motor in it at first, and then I went to the 9-turn brushless, and when you go with a bigger set of tires on your rig, that's when things start breaking inside here, because there's so much stress on the sides of the tire. If you're running like a 1.9 and you got a proportional size tire for the 1.9, you'll never have any problems with this unless you you bind it up so tight, or some freak thing happens. But when you put 2 2s on it and you start blowing the things up, the tranny that I had in my other rig there, I was running those 3.2 American Force style wheels with the tall rubber on them, and the thing's popping wheelies and everything else with that little 9-turn motor in it, and 11.1 volts I ran through this. So this is a pretty good deal. This is $129 for this. I snagged it up at that. The first one I paid $149, I think. So it's definitely worth it by the looks of it, and from what I've done with mine, it'll take the abuse. So I had this together once, and long story short, it was just freewheeled. I couldn't figure out why. So I'm going to give you guys kind of an accurate count of the bearings and the pins. The pins are very important, as important as these little washers are right here. So here's what I've counted. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, and inside here 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bearings in this thing. 12, actually 12 bearings. There's one over there too. Now the pins, the reason it didn't work was because when I slipped this back together, do you see anything wrong there? You see that pin laying in the bottom? Apparently the pin hole wasn't horizontal, it was vertical, and it just slipped out, and when I was fitting it together, and it falls apart. So this is where a little bit of Vaseline or grease comes together to put the pins in. And when I used to rebuild the Muncie 4-speeds, we used to go get a big jar of Vaseline to hold all the pin bearings on the roller cluster shaft on the bottom, and I think there was 110 or 112 bearings or something that was on the very bottom cluster shaft that you had to put inside a sleeve and then slide a shaft through it after you got it all together. So a little bit of grease and pins help. Now let's see, so the pins, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think there's 7. Yeah, 7. So there's 7 pins that go in this transmission. So you guys see what it's all apart now. And this here, I didn't take off the shift fork, but I do want to show you guys this. As you see up inside there, you see as soon as you pull out things up in there, that bearing falls out of the pocket. So you're gonna want to make sure you get a little grease on that and put that back in. But one thing I did not get a chance to show you was the size of this spline shaft that this shift fork slides on here, back and forth on this thing. It is massive, this thing, in the center there. Super heavy duty, and like I say, they got the pins with, you know, 6 slots. There's 3 pins with 6 slots, so you know it'll fall in either one of those. That's why it shifts so easily. But so far, this thing, these gears are really heavy duty. I mean, I don't foresee these things chipping, to be honest with you, unless you really bind this thing up. So, like I say, I highly suggest this thing. So, anyway, we're going to put it back together now, and get back to the rest of the video for you guys, and we'll go from there. So, this video has been taken in about 17 different shots here. So I'm going to try to edit them together where, you know, it makes sense. Anyways, guys, like, share, subscribe if you like. I want to thank you again for tuning in. And stay cool, and I hope you guys have a good weekend. Adios.